Most fat loss plans are basically choose your own disaster. Lose your strength, trash your recovery, or feel like you got hit by a truck. But the good news is there's actually a better approach once you know what to focus on. If you're a senior leader, there's probably a moment you remember, like standing around the pool with your team, shirt on, not because you were cold, but because you didn't feel like yourself anymore. Your calendar slammed, stress is constant. Those workouts that used to crush the fat, now they crush you with zero results to show for it. At this stage, the question isn't whether you should train, it's how smart you need to be with your limited time and recovery you actually have. And here's where most fat loss programs completely miss the mark. They pretend you're some 25-year-old with endless energy instead of recognizing that you've got a real job, real stress, and real responsibilities. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact fat loss training hierarchy that we use with our military and law enforcement dudes. Designed to cut the fat fast without wrecking strength, energy, or recovery. By the end, you'll know exactly what to prioritize based on how much time you actually have and how to make sure training actually works at this stage of your career. Most guys treat their workout like a variety show. Monday's weights, specifically chest day. Wednesday sprints, Fridays, whatever doesn't make them want to tap out early. Sounds reasonable, right? But fat loss is about keeping things interesting, about putting the right pieces in the right order so your body responds the way it's supposed to. No wasted effort. No slow death by overtraining. So what we're looking at is Alan Cosgrove's fat loss training hierarchy. Think of this as your GPS. It tells you exactly what to focus on based on the time and energy you actually have. If you've got 3 hours a week, stick to metabolic resistance training. We'll get into that in a little bit. 4 to 5 hours, add in anaerobic intervals. 6 or 7 hours, layer in high intensity aerobic work, daily low intensity. You can pretty much always do it. Just be aware of your energy levels and make sure it does not interfere with the above. Originally, in his original hierarchy, low intensity cardio was listed as dead last in the hierarchy. But in our experience, in some of Alan's more recent posts, if you've got the energy for some easy movement, just go for it. Just don't let it replace the more effective stuff if time is tight. We've learned this the hard way. When I first started running boot camps for middle-aged clients, we're going 5 days a week. And by Thursday, everybody was dragging, intensity tanks, and progress slowed to a crawl. I cut back to 3 focus sessions a week, and sure enough, that started flying off again. I stayed high through Friday, and people actually start showing up again, which is great because consistency is what gets results. Once their capacity improved, I then reintroduced 2 conditioning-based days that generally was on Tuesday and Thursday, and now they could actually handle it without falling apart. That's why fat loss specifically, we anchor everything with metabolic resistance training. So let's talk about why that works and how. All right, so this is where fat loss gets effective and sustainable. Metabolic resistance training is the cornerstone for getting lean without sacrificing strength or wrecking your recovery. It's not necessarily hybrid training, although it may look like it or similar. It's not random circuits, and it's just not hard for the sake of being hard. We're talking about full body sessions with key movement patterns like push, pull, squat, hinge, carry, and core. Sessions are short, focused, and built around output, not burnout. So we're looking at 3 to 4 sessions per week, 4 to 6 total exercises, full body emphasis, 6 to 12 reps per movement, 30 to 60 seconds rest. Typically, you're going to be in a superset, a tri-set, or some kind of circuit. Sessions will generally be under 50 minutes. Why it works well? The high output sustains the calorie burn and better energy balance without a lot of fatigue. For hormones, the short rests and the big movements support growth hormone and testosterone while keeping cortisol in check. Performance-wise, strength is maintained or even improved, and work capacity stays sharp during the cut, i.e. losing fat. As Alan Cosgrove has pointed out, MRT is one of the few methods that consistently delivers fat loss and strength preservation at the same time. I've taken several clients through MRT-based training programs after they've already been training with me for years. Not only did they lose more fat, they lost it almost twice as fast as we projected. One gal actually had to buy an entire new wardrobe and joked that training with me wasn't expensive, but constantly replacing her clothes was. It's kind of amusing. It's a compliment, but at the same time. All right. So next, you've got 2 to 3 hours a week. Now you still have more time to train. What else should you be doing? So now we're looking at intervals. Conditioning for fat loss has its place, but it has to be done right, or it can have negative issues. Most guys either skip it, overdo it, or treat it like punishment for what they ate. Generally, that doesn't lead to sustainable fat loss. Here's how we layer it based on available training hours. If you've got 3 to 5 hours per week, we're going to add 1 to 2 sessions of anaerobic intervals, such as 10 rounds of 10 to 15 seconds on the assault bike sprints with 60 to 90 seconds rest in between. Sounds easy. You actually start to fatigue after a couple reps, and especially if you're going max effort. If you're taking a chill, it's not going to be hard. If you actually go all out, it's going to be very hard. If you then have 5 to 6 hours per week, we want to add in something like the max heart rate 4x4 method. This is something we've been using in our team for a long time. They are absolutely horrendous. You might think, oh, I'll just use the assault bike because that's easier instead of running. Yeah, it still sucks. They're both brutally effective for staying lean while building the aerobic capacity. If at 6 hours a week, if you're still not losing fat, you really need to look at your nutrition and some of the deep health aspects, which we'll cover in part 3. Like I said, the low intensity stuff, you can pretty much do as much as you want. So walking, rucking, hiking, incline treadmill, long bike rides, as long as it's not interfering with everything above and it doesn't interfere with your recovery or your sleep. The big things. All right, so why interval work? For fat loss, I add clean caloric burn without wrecking recovery. On the hormone front, it boosts the insulin sensitivity, improves glucose disposal, reduces chronic stress. Performance-wise, it improves recovery between sets, improving your work capacity. In turn, that'll help your ability to sustain training volume, especially if you start looking at other types of training objectives, but it really helps with fat loss when you have that ability to go. So like I've said, we've used the max HR intervals in our training, and not only do they maintain conditioning during strength or hypertrophy blocks, but they also keep you lean in under 20 minutes. So it's very time effective also. All right, so to wrap all this up, prioritizing training is the right way, gives you the highest chance of fat loss success. Once you've already tackled your top priority, which is nutrition, as you can see at the top of the hierarchy, this structure removes the guesswork and keeps your efforts aligned with actual results. Metabolic resistance training is your foundation. It consistently outperforms hybrid and cardio-heavy plans for fat loss, especially for guys over 35 who still want to keep their strength and their muscle. Conditioning is layered, not random. Intervals and low-intensity work both have their place, but they need to be applied with intention. Not every week needs to be a hero week, and not every session needs to leave you gas. If you want long-term fat loss that doesn't destroy your strength, recovery, or motivation, it starts by training smarter, not necessarily harder. Comment fat loss below, and I'll drop you the link for the companion article if you want to see all the details that breaks everything down step by step and something that you can see a little bit easier.